When you think about the people who instantly capture your attention and draw you closer, it's never because they walked into the room with the loudest voice or tried to dominate the space with their presence. It's almost always because they made you feel something about yourself. They made you feel important. They made you feel like you mattered. That, right there, is the hidden key behind genuine interest. You see, the fastest way to truly make people like you isn't about memorizing witty one-liners. It isn't about being the smartest person in the room. And it certainly isn't about trying to impress people with what you have accomplished. It's about where you put your attention. Because when you give your attention away freely, generously, without keeping score, you awaken something powerful inside the other person. They feel seen, they feel heard, and they feel valued. And nothing makes human beings gravitate towards someone more than the experience of being understood. When you lean in to really listen, not with the intention to respond, but with the intention to understand, something magical happens. People open up. Their defenses soften, their hearts loosen, and suddenly a wall that might have taken months or years to break down is gone within minutes. Most people go through their daily lives starving for attention. They are surrounded by colleagues, friends, or even family who hear the words they say, but who don't actually listen. And when you step into their world with sincere curiosity, when you look them in the eye, ask them questions that show you care, not just out of politeness, but because you are truly engaged, you separate yourself from the noise. You become the rare person in their life who actually notices them. And that, my friend, is unforgettable. Think about the last time you were in a conversation where you felt ignored. The other person might have been glancing at their phone, scanning the room, or waiting for their turn to speak. How did that make you feel? Probably insignificant, unworthy of their time. Now, flip that around. When someone locks eyes with you, when they hang on to your words, when they ask follow-up questions that prove they're not just hearing but absorbing what you're saying, how does that feel? It feels like respect. It feels like love. It feels like being human again in a world that often forgets what connection truly means. Genuine interest is not about manipulation. It's not about using attention as a trick to win people over. If you're pretending to care, people will feel that. They will sense the hollowness in your energy. Authenticity is what gives this principle its power. You have to truly want to know who the other person is. You have to be fascinated by their story, curious about their perspective, willing to step outside of your own world for a moment and step into theirs. That is what transforms a conversation into a bond. That is what makes people lean toward you, remember you, and want to be around you again and again. There's another layer to this. When you show genuine interest in someone, you awaken their higher self. You reflect back to them a version of themselves they might have forgotten. Maybe they don't usually feel smart, but your thoughtful questions make them realize they have wisdom inside. Maybe they often feel overlooked, but your focused presence reminds them that they matter. This is bigger than just liking. This is about igniting a spark of self-worth in others, a spark they will forever associate with you. That is why people will not just like you, but they will trust you, they will respect you, and they will want you in their lives. Think of conversations as a mirror. When you talk to someone with distraction, they see themselves as unimportant. When you talk to them with genuine attention, they see themselves as significant. And people always remember how they felt in your presence. Long after they forget what words were exchanged, they will remember the energy. They will remember whether they felt small or whether they felt like the most important person in the room. And you, through your choice to offer genuine interest, hold the power to decide which one of those experiences they walk away with. This doesn't require you to be an extrovert. It doesn't require you to have perfect social skills. All it requires is a shift in focus. Take the spotlight off yourself and shine it on the person in front of you. Replace the urge to impress with the urge to understand. Replace the habit of speaking over others with the habit of asking meaningful questions. Replace the instinct to be interesting with the discipline of being interested. And when you practice this long enough, it stops being a technique and becomes part of who you are. People will gravitate toward you not because of what you say or what you do, but because of how you make them feel in your presence. That is the power of genuine interest, and it is one of the rarest yet simplest gifts you can give to anyone you meet. The truth is, people respond to energy before they ever respond to words. Long before you speak, long before you explain who you are or what you do, others are already feeling something about you. That something is your energy, It's the invisible atmosphere you carry into every room, the vibration you radiate, the tone of your presence. When you walk in with a heavy spirit, people sense it instantly. They may not be able to explain it, but they feel it. When you carry a light, confident, warm energy, that too is felt immediately, and people can't help but be drawn toward it. The fascinating part is that this is not a talent you're born with, it's a state you create. The energy you project is the energy you cultivate within yourself. And if you want others to like you, to be magnetized by you, you must first decide the type of energy you want to give to the world. Energy works like a magnet. Positive, uplifting, and confident energy attracts people the same way sunlight pulls flowers toward it. Negative, draining, and self-absorbed energy pushes people away as quickly as darkness causes plants to wither. You've likely noticed this in your own life. There are people you just enjoy being around. Maybe they aren't the most successful, maybe they don't even talk that much, but something about them leaves you feeling better after spending time together. That's not luck, that's intentional energy. On the other hand, there are people who seem to drain the life out of every room. Conversations with them feel heavy, interactions with them leave you tired, and even silence with them feels suffocating. What you feel is the echo of the energy they carry. Now, how do you actually cultivate that radiant, magnetic energy? It begins long before you enter any conversation. It begins with how you treat yourself. The thoughts you entertain, the beliefs you feed, and the emotions you allow to circulate within you are all shaping the frequency you carry. If your mind is consumed with self-doubt, criticism, anger, or fear, then that becomes the filter through which others experience you. But if your mind is filled with gratitude, purpose, confidence, and love, people sense it without you ever needing to say a word. It leaks out through your smile, your posture, your tone, even the way you breathe. There's a certain glow in people who are at peace with themselves. They don't need to prove anything. They don't need to compete for attention. Their energy communicates abundance. People are drawn to them because, deep down, we are all searching for that peace within ourselves. When you cultivate a state of joy and calm, you unconsciously give others permission to do the same. That's why people like being around someone who radiates positive energy. They are not just enjoying your company, they are also enjoying the version of themselves that emerges when they are with you. Think of energy like a language without words. Every time you enter a room, you are telling a story without opening your mouth. Your posture says whether you're open or closed. Your facial expression says whether you're inviting or intimidating. Your presence says whether you're confident or insecure. And people listen to this story with their intuition more than their ears. That is why some people can speak very little but still command respect, while others can talk endlessly yet remain unnoticed. Energy speaks louder than any sentence ever will. Another truth about energy is that it is contagious. When you smile sincerely, it's almost impossible for the person in front of you not to smile back. When you laugh with genuine joy, the people near you feel lighter. When you walk in with calm confidence, you stabilize those around you. But the reverse is also true. If you walk in with tension, negativity, or judgment, that spreads just as quickly. And so, in every interaction, you must ask yourself, what am I spreading right now? Am I lifting the energy of this space, or am I draining it? Because people will always associate you with the way they felt when you were around, and they will decide whether they like you based on that emotional memory. You don't have to be the loudest, funniest, or most outgoing person to radiate attractive energy. In fact, sometimes it's the quiet ones who shine the brightest. It's about alignment, not performance. It's about being rooted in who you are, comfortable in your skin, and willing to let that authenticity shine without forcing it. When you stop trying to impress and start embodying joy, calm, and gratitude, people feel safe around you. They feel inspired around you. They feel lighter around you. That is why they like you. That is why they seek your company. Energy is invisible but undeniable. You can't fake it for long, because eventually your inner state always leaks out. If you want people to like you, stop focusing so much on the perfect words to say or the perfect strategies to use. Instead, focus on the energy you bring to every interaction. Ask yourself, am I carrying positivity or negativity? Am I radiating confidence or insecurity? Am I giving warmth or withholding it? The energy you radiate becomes your silent introduction long before you ever speak. There is something deeply human about the need to be appreciated. Every person, no matter who they are, carries within them a desire to be seen, acknowledged, and valued. It is not about ego, it is about validation of existence. When you show appreciation, when you look at someone and let them know that what they did matters, or that who they are is meaningful, you are feeding one of the most powerful emotional hungers in the human heart. People are not walking around desperate for more criticism, more judgment, or more indifference. They are quietly longing for recognition. They want to know that their efforts, their sacrifices, their contributions, no matter how small, are not invisible. And when you give them that gift, when you practice the art of appreciation, you unlock a connection that makes people not only like you, but remember you in a way that words alone could never achieve. Think for a moment about the last time someone genuinely appreciated you. Maybe it was a simple thank you that went deeper than politeness. Maybe it was someone noticing the details of your effort. Or maybe it was a heartfelt recognition of who you are beyond the surface. How did that make you feel? It didn't just make you smile. It lifted your spirit. It gave you energy. It made you want to keep showing up. That is the power of appreciation. It multiplies effort. It fuels relationships. It deepens trust. And when you practice it consistently, you become a source of encouragement in people's lives, the kind of person they naturally want to be around because your presence reminds them of their worth. Appreciation is not about flattery. Flattery is shallow, it is surface, level, and people can smell it from a mile away. True appreciation is specific, it is heartfelt, it comes from actually noticing. Instead of saying, "Good job," appreciation sounds like, "I noticed the way you handled that situation with so much patience. It inspired me." Instead of saying, "You're great," appreciation sounds like, "The effort you put into this project made all the difference. And I value the way you stayed committed." When your appreciation is anchored in truth and detail, it resonates. People feel the difference because they know you are paying attention. Another layer to appreciation is that it doesn't have to be tied to achievement. Sometimes the deepest appreciation is for simply who a person is. Thanking someone for their kindness, admiring their consistency, recognizing their unique presence. These go far beyond performance and touch the core of identity. When you let someone know that their character, their heart, or their spirit makes a difference, you are giving them one of the greatest compliments they could ever receive. That is the type of appreciation that lingers, that makes people walk away from you with a glow inside their chest, because you didn't just praise what they did, you acknowledged who they are. In relationships, whether personal or professional, appreciation is like oxygen. Without it, connections suffocate. With it, they thrive. Couples who forget to appreciate each other slowly drift apart, not because love disappeared, but because acknowledgement did. Teams that lack appreciation become drained and unmotivated, not because the work is meaningless, but because no one feels recognized. Friends who take each other for granted lose the spark, not because they stopped caring, but because they stopped expressing it. The smallest expressions of appreciation can reverse all of that. A simple, "I value having you in my life," or "I'm grateful for the way you support me," can restore warmth where distance was forming. One of the most powerful aspects of appreciation is that it is reciprocal in nature. When you appreciate others, they naturally begin to appreciate you, not because they owe you, but because your act of recognition awakens their own awareness. By noticing the good in someone else, you train them to notice the good in you. It's like planting seeds of positivity that eventually grow into a garden of mutual respect and admiration. The person who walks into every space looking for faults becomes lonely, but the person who walks into every space looking for things to appreciate becomes magnetic. There's also a subtle truth here. Appreciation doesn't just change the person receiving it, it changes the person giving it. When you discipline your mind to notice the good in people, you shift your entire perspective. You start living in gratitude instead of judgment. You begin to attract more positive energy because your attention is no longer stuck on flaws, but focused on value. In this way, appreciation becomes not only a tool for making people like you, but a practice that makes you a more fulfilled and joyful person. It's important to remember that appreciation doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It can live in small moments, a smile of acknowledgement, a kind word at the right time, a message that says, "I thought of you today and I'm thankful for you." Often, it is the little recognitions that have the biggest impact because they arrive unexpectedly and touch the heart when it least anticipates it. These little acts create emotional deposits in the bank account of relationships, and over time, they accumulate into a treasure chest of goodwill and loyalty. When people know that you see them, that you notice their effort, that you value their presence, they feel safe around you. They feel motivated to keep showing up as the best version of themselves. They feel inspired to give back, to open up, to trust. And all of it begins with something so simple, yet so rare: the act of sincere appreciation. When we think about the people who truly draw us in, who make us feel comfortable and connected, it is rarely the ones who seem flawless, untouchable, or perfect. In fact, perfection often creates distance. It intimidates, it makes others feel small in comparison, and it sets up a wall that is difficult to cross. What people are really attracted to is relatability. They want to see themselves reflected in you, not a polished image that feels impossible to reach. Relatability comes from being real, from sharing your stories, your experiences, and yes, even your struggles. It is through openness and authenticity that we create a bridge of human connection, a bridge that allows others to say, "I see myself in you," or "I felt that too." And when people feel that sense of recognition, they like you, they trust you, and they feel safe in your presence. Relatability doesn't mean you have to bare your soul to everyone you meet or share every detail of your life. It means showing enough of your humanity that others know you are not hiding behind a mask. When you allow yourself to laugh at your own mistakes, when you admit that you've been scared or uncertain, when you tell stories of challenges that shaped you, people lean in. Why? Because they've been there too. Everyone has faced setbacks. Everyone has felt doubt. Everyone has made mistakes. When you pretend you haven't, you create separation. When you admit that you have, you create connection. Think about the conversations you remember most. They are often the ones where someone shared something vulnerable, not in a way that made you pity them, but in a way that made you realize, "I'm not alone." That is the power of relatability. It makes others drop their guard. It dissolves the unspoken competition we sometimes feel in social situations, and it replaces it with a sense of camaraderie. Instead of, "I have to prove myself," people begin to feel, "We're on the same team." That shift is profound, and it is born from the courage to be real. Relatability also means speaking in a way that resonates. If your words are too rehearsed, too perfect, people tune out. But if your words carry the rhythm of genuine experience, they strike a chord. Stories are especially powerful here. When you tell a story of a challenge you faced, or an obstacle you overcame, or even a funny mistake you once made, you are giving others a piece of your humanity to hold on to. People connect through stories because stories bypass the intellect and go straight to the heart. They create images, emotions, and shared experiences that are unforgettable. Some people fear that showing their imperfections will make them less respected. They believe they have to appear strong at all times in order to be liked. But the truth is, strength without vulnerability feels distant, while strength combined with vulnerability feels inspiring. People respect you more, not less, when you show them both sides. The side that struggled and the side that rose. They admire your victories more when they know what it took to achieve them. They appreciate your confidence more when they know it was built on moments of doubt. Relatability does not weaken your presence, it strengthens it by making it accessible. In friendships, relatability creates intimacy. When you can say, "I've felt that too," the bond deepens. In leadership, relatability creates loyalty. When a leader admits they don't have all the answers but shows they are willing to learn, people follow them more willingly. In love, relatability creates trust. When partners are willing to admit fears and insecurities, the relationship becomes a space of safety instead of performance. No matter the context, the principle remains the same: people are drawn to what feels real. Relatability also has a ripple effect. When you open up and share something genuine, you give permission for others to do the same. Your honesty becomes a mirror that reflects back to them the parts of themselves they were too afraid to reveal. Suddenly, a guarded conversation turns into an authentic one. A casual connection turns into a meaningful bond. A stranger begins to feel like a friend. This is the magic of choosing realness over perfection. The world is full of people putting on masks, masks of confidence, masks of success, masks of happiness. But behind those masks, most people are craving connection. They are longing to meet someone who makes them feel safe enough to drop the act. When you choose relatability, you become that person. You become the one who makes others breathe a sigh of relief and think, finally, someone who gets it. That is far more powerful than being admired from a distance. Relatability is not about lowering yourself or pretending to be less than you are. It is about bringing the fullness of who you are, your strengths and your struggles, your wins and your wounds, into the space with honesty. When you do this, people do not just like you, they feel like they know you. They feel like they can trust you. They feel like you are one of them. And that is the kind of bond that no amount of perfection could ever create. Respect is one of the deepest currencies of human interaction, and it is often the quietest force that determines how others perceive you. People may enjoy a joke, admire a skill, or be impressed by your knowledge, but none of those things will last if respect is missing. When you consistently give respect, not as a tactic, but as a principle, you create a foundation of trust and connection that makes people naturally gravitate toward you. Respect is not only in the words you speak, it is in the tone of your voice, the patience in your behavior, the attention you give, and the value you place on others. It is woven into the small details. Whether you interrupt someone or let them finish, whether you acknowledge their perspective or dismiss it, whether you show gratitude for their time or treat it as if it belongs to you. These details may seem small, but they accumulate into a powerful message that you see the other person as worthy. And when people feel respected, they like you, they listen to you, and they remember you. Respect begins with presence. When someone is speaking and you put away distractions, look them in the eye, and truly listen, you are silently saying, "You matter." Too often, people listen, nodding absent-mindedly while their mind is elsewhere. This is not respect. Respect means giving someone your full attention, even if only for a short moment. That presence makes the other person feel valued, and in turn, they associate you with that positive experience. Respect is not about agreeing with everything someone says. It is about giving their words and feelings the dignity of being acknowledged. Another layer of respect is in the way you speak. Words can lift people up or cut them down in an instant. The language you choose reveals the level of regard you hold for others. Respectful communication doesn't mean sugarcoating the truth or avoiding difficult conversations. It means delivering your message with care and empathy. Even when you disagree, you can choose to disagree without belittling. Even when you need to correct, you can do so without shaming. This balance allows people to feel safe around you because they know your respect doesn't vanish in the face of conflict. Respect also lives in how you value boundaries. Every person has invisible lines, limits of comfort, personal space, and emotional safety. When you recognize and honor those boundaries, you are showing respect for their individuality. This might mean giving someone room to process, avoiding invasive questions, or noticing when they are uncomfortable and adjusting your approach. When people feel that their boundaries are honored, they trust you more deeply because you are proving that their dignity matters more than your agenda. In leadership and influence, respect is the cornerstone of loyalty. A leader who commands through fear may gain compliance, but they will never gain true commitment. A leader who respects their team by listening, acknowledging contributions, and valuing input earns not only results but devotion. People will go the extra mile for someone who makes them feel respected. The same is true in friendships and relationships. Love without respect quickly turns toxic, but respect reinforces love, strengthens bonds, and keeps the connection alive even through challenges. Respect is also about how you recognize value in others. Every person has something unique to offer, a perspective shaped by their journey, a lesson forged through their struggles. When you approach others with humility, when you show curiosity instead of judgment, you discover that respect becomes a bridge to deeper understanding. Too many people walk through life with a posture of superiority, always trying to prove they know more, that they are above others. This arrogance repels. But the person who respects everyone equally, whether it is the CEO or the janitor, creates an aura of dignity that makes them universally likable. Respect can also be felt in the consistency of your actions. If you only respect people when it is convenient, they will eventually notice the gaps. If you only show respect to those you want something from, they will feel used. But when respect becomes your default way of interacting, it builds a reputation that speaks for you even when you're not in the room. People begin to describe you as trustworthy, kind, and fair. They recommend you, they defend you, and they want to be around you, all because respect is rare, and when people find it, they treasure it. What many overlook is that respect is not only about others, it also begins with yourself. When you carry self-respect, you set the tone for how others treat you. If you constantly diminish yourself, tolerate disrespect, or fail to honor your own boundaries, people mirror that behavior back to you. But when you respect your own time, your own values, your own worth, others sense it and respond in kind. Self-respect radiates outward, creating a standard of interaction that invites mutual dignity. Respect is not loud or flashy. It does not demand attention, and yet it transforms every environment it enters. A respectful person creates peace in conversations, safety in relationships, and harmony in groups. People are drawn to them not because they always agree, but because they always feel valued in their presence. This is why respect is often the invisible thread behind likability. It is the quiet signal that tells others you are safe here, you are important here, you are worthy here. And when people feel that, they want to stay close to the source that made them feel it in the first place. Contribution is one of the most magnetic forces in human relationships, and yet it is often overlooked by those who are trying too hard to be liked. Many people focus on what they can get out of interactions: validation, attention, approval, when the real secret lies in what you can give. Human beings are naturally drawn to those who add value to their lives. This value does not always have to be grand or material. Often, it's found in the simplest gestures, the smallest offerings, the quietest acts of kindness. When you show up in a spirit of contribution, you shift the dynamic of every connection. You stop being someone who takes energy and instead become someone who gives it. That alone makes people want to be around you, because deep down, we all crave the presence of those who leave us feeling uplifted rather than depleted. Contribution starts with mindset. It's the decision to enter every interaction with the question, how can I leave this person better than I found them? Sometimes that might mean offering encouragement, a word of belief in a moment when they doubt themselves. Sometimes it might mean sharing knowledge or insight that could help them. Other times, it's as simple as offering your time, your smile, or your attentive ear. Contribution does not have to be dramatic. Its power lies in its sincerity. The smallest act of giving can ripple outwards and create a memory that sticks with someone for years. Think about the people you admire most in your life. Chances are, they were the ones who gave. They gave you time when you needed to talk. They gave you wisdom when you felt lost. They gave you kindness when you least expected it. You may not even remember everything they said, but you remember how their contribution made you feel. That feeling is what draws people toward givers. A person who consistently adds value becomes irreplaceable in the hearts of others because they are offering something so rare in a world that is often consumed with self-interest. Contribution also builds trust. When people see that you are not approaching them with hidden agendas, when they feel that you are giving freely without expecting something in return, they let down their guard. Suspicion fades, openness grows, and relationships deepen. Trust is the foundation of all likability, and contribution is one of the fastest ways to build it. A genuine giver is never forgotten because their actions create a safe and uplifting space for others to be themselves. It's important to note that contribution is not about overextending yourself or losing your identity in the service of others. True contribution comes from abundance, not depletion. You give because you are full, not because you are desperate to be liked. You give because you genuinely want to see others rise, not because you are trying to buy their affection. That distinction matters because people can feel the difference. Contribution rooted in authenticity has a magnetic pull, while contribution rooted in neediness feels manipulative. The former builds respect, the latter erodes it. In social situations, contribution might look like being the one who brings positive energy into the room. It might look like making introductions that help others connect. It might look like encouraging someone who feels left out or recognizing someone's effort when no one else has noticed. In professional environments, contribution could mean mentoring, sharing opportunities, or helping colleagues succeed without competing. In personal relationships, it might mean acts of service, thoughtful gestures, or simply being present when someone needs you most. The form of contribution doesn't matter as much as the intention behind it, a sincere desire to give. The beauty of contribution is that it multiplies. When you contribute to someone's life, they are inspired to contribute to another's. Your generosity becomes a spark that ignites a chain of kindness far beyond what you can see. One encouraging word can fuel someone's courage, which then influences how they treat the next person, and the ripple continues. In this way, contribution doesn't just make people like you. It creates a legacy that expands your influence far beyond the immediate moment. There is also a deeper truth: contribution gives meaning to your own life. When you make giving a habit, you begin to feel a greater sense of purpose. You shift your focus away from constant self-concern and step into a flow of gratitude and connection. This inner fulfillment radiates outward, and others feel it in your presence. People are naturally drawn to those who live with purpose, because purpose gives off a kind of light that cannot be faked. Contribution, therefore, becomes not just a way to make others like you, but a way to elevate your own state of being. We live in a world where many are looking for what they can take, and that is why the giver stands out so strongly. When you choose to contribute, whether through encouragement, kindness, knowledge, or simply the warmth of your presence, you position yourself as a source of value in every interaction. And people are always drawn to value. They want to be near the person who lifts them, who reminds them of their own strength, who adds something meaningful to their day. That is why contribution is not just an act, it is a principle, a way of living that transforms relationships, environments, and even entire communities.